If you know your fitness journey is going to take a long time, I wanted to share a few things that I picked up having been on one myself. I was just on my walk and I've been reflecting on just the fact that it's been almost 4 years since the accident. I broke my hip, requiring surgery the next morning. I have a back injury. I've got nerve issues. I had a lot of body trauma. In that first month, I was basically bedridden and, I gained a bunch of weight, which was not going to help my recovery. And the initial prognosis was I'd probably relearn how to walk on my own without assistance between roughly 9 months and a year. And then from there, I could start to rebuild my body back, together more so. Needless to say, I was very sad. I was pretty depressed. I didn't know where to start. I was given, physical therapy, exercises, but when you feel that broken and when you feel that far gone, I guess you'd say, everything feels really daunting and it feels really hard, especially when everything hurts and everything just seems like, when everything feels like it's just such a huge challenge, like even the little things feel challenging. And I had to make this decision. I remember I went to the physical therapist, and I think I've talked about this in another video before. I went to the physical therapist, and it was when I was transitioning from the walker to the cane. And he looked me up and down, and then he looked me dead in the eyes, and he said, "You're gonna have to rebuild your entire body from the ground up." Because I was like, the alignment of my whole body was just chaos. It was just chaos. And everything, I had so many muscle imbalances and I had all these things that were going on that would need to be, addressed in order for me to, get going. So when he said that, I remember going home and just, it really hit me. Like people have been saying for a while. And, I transitioned from the walker to the cane at 15 weeks, but like all the weeks up to that, whenever I had like a doctor's appointment, they were telling me how long it was going to take, but it just did not sink in until that moment. Like it felt very pivotal. And that was when I really started to look at things on a much smaller scale. And so I had this goal, right? I had this goal of wanting to relearn how to walk. I had this goal of, taking care of my body and losing the weight and getting to a place where I felt more functional. And this goal was just huge though, right? It just felt gigantic. And so the way that I went about it was, and you may laugh at this, but I actually set the goal aside. The wind's picking up. I do have a windscreen on my microphone, but if it's windy, I apologize. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so it was this pivotal moment in which I realized that I was gonna have to really focus on these things and focus on the little things and forget the goal. Which sounds crazy. I know, the idea of forgetting the goal or like setting that aside sounds insane, but that's pretty much what I had to do in order for me not to feel so overwhelmed and so kind of defeated. Like it just felt like so much, and I felt like I was gonna have to do so much in order to get there. But the way I could work around that was to focus in on the moment, and it was all literally one step at a time. It was literally one rep at a time. It was celebrating the little things, like any little thing that I could do. Like I remember, I can't remember what exercise it was, but it was like, oh, I think it was squats. It was squats. And I could only lower down like a tiny bit. I didn't have the strength. I still had like a lot of swelling in my hip. It took months for that to for that to calm down. But one day I lowered down just a little bit more, like just a little bit more. And I was so excited. And I was like, I did it. Like every little thing counted. Because progress is not linear. It's just not. There'd be times where like things would progress, and then times when things would just felt like such an utter slog and like nothing was really changing. But celebrating all those little things, at least it kept me going. It was like this little morsel of happiness in this really dark and depressing time for me, honestly. So yeah, so celebrating those little wins and setting the goal aside to just focus on what's happening now, because it's all you got. It's all you got. Like I wear, this is gonna sound super cheesy. I wear bifocals. I know, crazy. So I can see with them on, I can see far and I can see close, but then there's like this gap where I can see. So oftentimes when I'm filming, I need to take my glasses off because I can't see what's going on. Like the glasses kind of skew it. So it's kind of like that, right? Long game was blurry. And if I focused too much on what was happening on the inside, there was a sweet spot of just being present and doing the things that I needed to, just one step at a time, keep going. And that was just the sweet spot. That was a sweet spot to kind of keep that on track. What else did I do? I did all sorts of stuff. I also found a lot of enjoyment in figuring out what I liked and what my body liked. So I would think about this like in terms of food or in terms of exercise, honestly. Like I exercise in all sorts of ways now. Like there's no one, I'm truly hybrid. Like I like doing all sorts of things, even if it's my version of it, right? There's so many things that I can't do, but I really delight in things that I can. And I do that in a variety of different fitness modalities. And that keeps me going because it helps me feel strong and stable in a variety of ways. And I found that that actually really made me feel better. It made me feel more confident, made me feel more secure. So adding in variety and just putting in that curiosity of how fun could this be? Like how fun could these like little things that I could do, how could I implement more fun into them? So finding the fun in it and that being that curious about it, being curious about how you can modify things and how you can engage with fitness in a way that doesn't feel so weighted. It feels a lot more free, and it's still challenging, granted, still hard, it's still challenging, but it doesn't suck the same way as grinding it out. And that was just one way that it helped me get started, because then the grind will happen, but it's not the same. It's not the same grind because now you have a lot more confidence. Now you know you can do the habit. Now you know that you can do certain things that you didn't before. You're just building that momentum on confidence, and you're building that momentum on the journey with yourself, which again, cheesy as hell. But throughout that whole process, I'm 4 years in. I have a lot of residual things that I'm still navigating. Some will be permanent, some might change, maybe, I don't know. But what I found about myself throughout that whole process was truly wonderful. And there were things that I would accomplish, like these little mini goals that I would accomplish. And I was never about actually accomplishing it. I wasn't sitting there be like, oh wow, this is amazing. Yes, but more so, I would get to that place and all I could think about was all the shit I had to go through to get there. I thought about the journey in its entirety. I wasn't thinking about the finish line. I wasn't thinking about accomplishing the goal. Getting there was like so awesome, but really reflecting and thinking about all the stuff I did, all the hard work I put in, all the time that I poured into myself to get there. That's what made me proud. That's what made me happy. That's what I was celebrating when I accomplished the thing. And there's something about that could never be talked about enough. It couldn't be felt enough, because that's where I feel like that's where the real sauce is. That's the real tea. I'm tough as nails. Like I did not realize, I always felt like kind of strong in myself. I was so strong for myself during that time, even though I was completely falling apart. You know, just kept showing up in some capacity. And I try to make it as easy to show up for myself as possible. I actually want to make a video about that, about the easy ways to show up for yourself and to acknowledge that you're doing it. Because sometimes we can kind of let that slip through the cracks. Like, well, it's that thing of like tracking stuff that you do, or making a to-do list and checking it off and checking it off. And the to-do list may look very simple, but there are all these mini steps in between each task that you end up having to do as part of the task. So once you really parse that out and put down like all the mini steps that need to happen in order for that thing to get checked off the to-do list, then you realize just how much you've put in. Does it make sense? It's really easy for us to discount all the things that we're doing and all the ways that we are showing up for ourselves. Sometimes. I found that by sharing these things and documenting these things, helping others, but also documenting for myself too, you know, because for so long I felt alone. But the more that people share their stories online, I've found that while obviously we're all unique, it's really nice to know just how many people have been in the same boat that you have. Yeah. I actually did make a video about sneaky fitness. I'll link that here and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and you know, subscribe, you know, click like, whatever, I don't know.